Stand by for Bawana.org radio. In 3, 2, 1. Cue the announcer.
You found Bawana.org radio, your one source for tech news and reviews. Now, almost live from sunny Florida, here's your host, Bawana McCall.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to episode 266 of Bawana.org radio. We got a great show lined up for you. Only four stories to talk about today's show. And I looked some more, but I couldn't find a whole lot of stuff that was really meaty and juicy that warranted a really good conversation. But we're going to do the best we can with the stories that we have. Bawana.org radio is a tech podcast I do every Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. You can come by over my live channel at twitch.tv/Bawana to check me out live. I'm doing a behind the scenes view of what the show is all about, and people can see me recording in Vegas and editing audio and reading stories and retaking my bloopers and all kinds of cool stuff. So if you want to come on by, come over to twitch.tv/Bawana. You can check out behind the scenes of what's going on over here. We also do the same thing with Game Chat with Bawana. That is my gaming podcast that we do over there on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, and it's been a pretty fairly quiet day news-wise. I mean, a lot of people are gearing up for Apple's announcements. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. The Google train is kind of dying down a little bit, so not a lot of Android news going on. People are kind of tired of talking about that. Google Glass was in the news, but didn't really want to dwell on that too much. I don't really have any kind of insight on Google Glass, except I don't have it, and I don't know much about it, but that's pretty much where I'm going to stand on that. But anyway, we got a great show lined up for you for episode 266 of Bawana.org radio.
It's time for Bawana.org radio's tech news for this week.
And for our first story, we're going to talk about Ubuntu. Ubuntu, the Linux distribution that's probably one of the more popular ones out there. A lot of people love Ubuntu for various reasons. Certain people even hate it for other reasons. But that's the Linux crowd for you. You know, you can't please everybody in the Linux crowd. I mean, that's one of the draws of the operating system. The operating system is so flexible and so customizable that you get flavors that people just hate. And they're like, I hate how they do that, so I'm not going to use it. So they go in and do their own flavor or roll their own distribution to do what they want with Linux. Now, the reason we're talking about Ubuntu today is I want to bring up an article over on makeuseof.com. They have kind of a guide, if you will. It's not really a how-to. But if you've ever tried to install Linux on a laptop, which I have done many times, you may have encountered some issues. Now, I don't know of anyone who has done this and not had any problems. I mean, laptops are very, very common to use to put Linux on because a lot of times you inherit like an old laptop that nobody wants, that can't play any games or barely can run Microsoft Word. You're like, 286 processor with onboard video and 128 kilobytes of RAM? Sure, I'll throw Linux on it. And I've done that before. And I remember one of my very first YouTube videos. This is one of my old ones. Is where I put the Barrel window manager on Ubuntu on a very old IBM ThinkPad, and I had that thing it had spinning cube effects and all kinds of 3D effects. I was playing videos and it was just dancing all over the place. And people was like, "Oh my goodness, that's on a laptop." I'm like, "Yes, look, that is the power of Linux. That is what you can do." Windows sucks. That was during my day where I was like all about that Linux. But this article talks about some of the tweaks you may or may not need if you're going to install Ubuntu on your laptop. And they go over various different categories. Touchpad settings, because, you know, you got to have those mouse tweaks. Keyboard layout, of course. Languages, that's pretty common. But one of the big ones is graphic drivers. And you know, you may want some 3D accelerated graphics on a laptop. You may not know you need that, but if you're running X Windows, I don't know if they even call it X anymore. I called it X Windows X. And whatever window manager you're running on Linux, and you get like poor performance and just Windows are just not drawing fast and everything's slow and the hard drive swapping. You may need some hardware acceleration. You may need some better graphics drivers. So they talk about how to tweak and tune and make sure you've got the latest. Another thing that you may have to tweak and tune is Wi-Fi. You may not be able to get your Wi-Fi drivers or Wi-Fi devices working on your laptop. So there's some tweaks there about that. Power settings, of course, because you don't want your battery to go dead on your Ubuntu laptop. But there's a lot of different things you can do and a lot of things that can go wrong. Trust me. You put Linux on a laptop and sometimes it's hit or miss. Other times it works beautifully, but there's always one little thing that crops up that you may need to tweak or tune. So check the story out, guys, over on makeuseof.com. They got the details. Install Ubuntu on your laptop. 6 tweaks you'll need. And for our next story, we're going to talk about Apple a little bit. Apple has been kind of quiet in the news as of late, except for everybody giving the doom and gloom stories. I've seen articles talking about how the Larry Ellison, the CEO over at Oracle, saying that Apple's going to die without Steve Jobs. We saw what happened to Apple when Steve Jobs left the first time. They're going to die. And everybody's like, Larry, you're so funny. Anyway, Apple's in a great position right now, much better position than they were when Steve Jobs left before. So that's pretty much the comment I have to that. They're in a much better position now than they were before. He left at it wasn't a really good time when he left last time, but they're in a really good position. And I don't think they're going to die anytime soon. But this next article talks about the upcoming event for Apple's September 10th unveiling of what's to be expected to be the next wave of iOS devices. These may include iPhones and iPads. That's what you know them as. Now, the rumor mill, which is almost always wrong in some cases, like that statement, almost always wrong in some cases. The rumor mill says that the iPhone 5S is expected to be unveiled, and the S kind of has been the indicator that we're going to have a speed bump, kind of a hardware upgrade, maybe some minor tweaks and tunes. I like to call it if you're using Android and you got Samsung Galaxy S3. It's like going from the S3 to the S4. Basically, it's not a huge feature leap, but the hardware is going to get improved. You're going to see some little tweaks here and there. And it's going to be one of those kind of incremental updates. Now, while I'm on that subject, let's talk about that for a minute, because we're at the point right now, and I saw a related article that the mobile market in the U.S. specifically has kind of grinded to a halt, and I kind of know why. But the mobile market right now, we're at a place where companies have innovated and innovated and innovated, and now we're seeing the gimmicky phase. We're seeing gimmicks. And gimmicks can get you in trouble. I gotta say, they can get you in trouble because and let me explain before I go into another point, but fingerprint scanners and wave your hand over the phone to do something, or tap the back of the phone to transfer a file or video, or I don't know. That stuff falls into the realm of gimmicky. That's bells and whistles, that's flashes. That's something you'll use the first week you have the phone, and you won't ever use it again. We're approaching that with a lot of Android devices and a lot of Apple iOS devices. And Apple hit that point before Android did. Apple has already hit the point to where they can't really innovate beyond what they've already done that much. So when we get a new iOS device, we're seeing incremental updates. We're seeing much better battery life. I mean, they've been really focusing on battery life. They've been focusing on form factor. But from an OS perspective and feature perspective, it's all about refinement and tuning, which has been very well done, by the way. iOS 7 aims to kind of reboot and breathe life into everything, but it's still going to be the same iOS. And when we look at Android is still going up that mountain. It is still adding things. And I believe it has started to reach its plateau. We're starting to see the gimmicky stuff come out. And we're starting to see the better hardware. We're starting to see more screen sizes. We're starting to see the mini this, the big that, the phablet. That's what they call it. Different screen sizes of the same thing. So they're pushing a lot of stuff out there, but as the U.S. market has shown, it's starting to taper off. People aren't buying that stuff. They're looking at their phone. They're going, man, I can send texts. I can take pictures, I can tweet, and I can Facebook. I can surf the web occasionally, and I got 4G. That's all I need. I don't need anything else. And if I can do that with an iPhone, if I can do that with Android, then that's fine by me. And all this gimmicky stuff on top of it is really, I don't think it's going to win a lot of people over, because I think people are becoming wise to that. So this September 10th event, the iPhone 5S, is supposedly supposed to be announced, along with another phone called the 5C, which I like to call the iPod version of the iPhone. This is supposedly going to be a version of the phone which has detachable backs. Excuse me. Which will allow you to change the color. Now you're going to say, I know what you're going to say. Buona, Apple just copied Motorola. Motorola just came out with the same exact thing. Okay, let's think about that for a second. That announcement from Motorola was how many weeks ago? Well, 2 weeks ago? 2.5 weeks ago? Do you really believe that Apple said, oh my goodness, Motorola has announced color of phones, colored phones. Scrap everything. Remove the back of the iPhone. Put a plastic case on it. Change the color. Name it the iPhone 5C. We must combat what they've done. This stuff has been in planning for probably months to even years. I wouldn't be surprised if Steve Jobs was involved in these projects that are about to come out now. I don't think people understand how these things work. They think that the companies go, oh, they did that. Let's copy it. Boop, and they hit a button and they're copying it. It's not going to happen that way. But I do believe that Apple planned on doing this for a while. Like a low-cost, low-budget iPhone, which has a lot of color options. And it's like the iPod version of the iPhone. And I really believe, don't quote me on this, but if this 5C comes to fruition, I think it's being set up to replace the iPod. I really do. I think the iPod's slowly dying off. Slowly but surely dying off. Really doesn't have any competition. I mean, really doesn't. I think it's slowly dying off. And I think this iPhone 5C is going to be the new iPod. Kind of a low-cost alternative. And they're going to have some iPad stuff that may come out, as well as the iPad mini. I think there's going to be some screen bumps. Like I say, incremental stuff, guys. And you really, I want you to take some time out right now. Just reset your mind. Just say, hey, I got to reset my expectations to say, this new stuff that Apple comes out with, probably not going to blow me away. And yet, I'm telling you, Android guys, you better start doing it too, because it's already starting to happen. Apple guys, I think we're kind of used to it now, because like the past 2 or 3 iterations have been very incremental. Nothing mind-blowingly, blowing us away. We just got great battery life, great screens, great form factor. Telling you, Android, you see what Google's doing now? They're looking at Google Glass. It's starting to go away from the phones. They're looking at Google Glass as their future. And these mobile devices from Android are going to start to taper off. I think they already have started tapering off. I mean, I looked at HTC One, HTC One Mini, HTC Phablet, Samsung Galaxy Tab, Tab S, Tab P, Nexus 7, 7S, 7, 10-inch, 10-inch, 7. And it's the same stuff with different screen sizes, with a few features here and there. So we got to set our expectations correctly, guys. And I'm going to tell you, the words I'm speaking right now are going to fall on deaf ears, because after this event on September 10th, people are going to come out and say Apple is dead, because they're not going to come out with anything earth-shattering. Tell you now, they're not going to come out with anything earth-shattering. It's going to be incremental. It's going to be minute. But Apple people who like their devices are looking for an upgrade or are in the market are going to be attracted to it, and they're going to get ridiculed for it, because you can't wave your hand over the screen to do stuff, or you can't talk to your phone while it's off. Gimmicky stuff, man. Gimmicky stuff. So check this article out. I didn't mean to talk about that long, but check the story out, guys, over on slashgear.com. They got the details. The iPhone 5S event's coming up September 10th. Prepare for it. Prepare for it. Brace yourselves. The fanboys are coming.
You found Bawana.org Radio. Tech news and tech gadgets for the hardcore geek in all of us.
And for our next story, we're also going to talk about Apple. Apple's development center was hacked. It's kind of compromised a while back. And here's a note that Apple put out. Basically, they're going to give all the members a 1-month member extension to compensate for the downtime. It says, we are pleased to let you know that our developer program services are now online. Your patience during this time was sincerely appreciated. We appreciate that the downtime was significant and apologize for any issues it may have caused in your app development. To help offset this disruption, we are extending the membership of all developer teams by 1 month. If you need any further assistance, please contact us. That's a note that Apple put out, and services have come back online. I do believe everything that was there. It went down July 18th, so that's that's about a good month. Almost an entire month where the whole thing was just like in shambles. Not necessarily down, but in shambles. And I don't know, man. Apple's got to tighten up their security a bit. I think everybody. Let's just take it up, kick it up a notch. I think everybody's got to tighten up their security because given all the information we've been getting about snooping organizations and NSA and government and backdoor programs and Windows and backdoor programs here and there and all this different stuff and things that were thought to be secure are not secure. Plus, every single week, some websites compromise email you telling you to reset your password because their database got compromised by somebody. CNN will tell you it's China. We don't know who it is exactly. It's time to really crack down on security and everybody. So, as a consumer, I just want to say this. You might want to reset your expectations and your trust on using an online hosted site. Whenever you sign up with a username, password, and email for a site, think about the possibility that will be compromised. That information will be compromised. This is why I use different passwords everywhere I go. I got LastPass. I generate passwords everywhere I go. Different passwords I just want them unique everywhere. So if it gets compromised, it's not going to spread throughout my service. So you should do the same. I mean, that's pretty much all we can do if we're going to use these services. Because if we don't take precautions, I've been seeing all kinds of exploits all over the place of just these prominent figures are getting hacked because of passwords. Check the story out, guys. You gotta try to protect yourself. I'm doing the best I can. I'm not a perfect security expert, but I'm doing the best I can to protect my information online. You should do the same. And when you use cloud services, take that same thought. I mean, just think. I'm writing a document on Google Docs. Somebody could possibly look at this. Do I really want to store this online? Check the story out, guys. Over on the unofficial Apple weblog, they got the details about Apple's hack, and now they're compensating developers with a 1 month membership extension. And for our final story, we're going to talk about iOS again, but we're going to talk about relaxation. I mean, you just had a full month of your dev site being accessible over at Apple. I mean, you're worried about the new iPhone. You don't know whether to go Android or iPhone. Oh, gosh, what's happening with my face? Oh, I just installed Ubuntu on my laptop. I'm so stressed. What am I going to do? Stop. Breathe. Relax. Take a load off. 7 iOS apps, according to this article over on makeuseof.com, that are out there to help you relieve stress. And I remember one of the apps I first bought on my iOS device, my iPhone. It was an ambient kind of a app, and it played rain, storm clouds, and you can have like white noise and fan noise and different things to help you sleep. It actually worked. I tried the rain thing a couple of nights, and I was like, but then after like night 3, I was like, shut up, I don't want to hear the rain anymore. But it's just good little things on these apps. They got a bunch of them here. The first one's called Ambiance. Makes sense, right? Ambiance is an ambient sound heaven where you can find any background noise you can possibly dream of. The app comes devoid of any sound, sending you to a vast library to download your favorite clips. The free version only lets you download 3 clips, while you can get unlimited for $2.99. It's customizable, has a bunch of cool things. There's another one called Relax Melodies. Relax Melodies. Let's see. It includes 46 sounds presented as tiles hanging from a string. Tapping a tile turns the sound on, letting you control its volume in the mix. I feel better already. Then there's Tanzan, which is also available in free and $2.99 versions. It's a combination of ambient sound and gameplay. It's a relaxing way to spend an evening without thinking of anything. So it's got some puzzles that challenge you a little bit to some nice, soothing sound. There's a free version. There's Zenbound. Zenbound is also $2.99. That's like the price point for a lot of these things. The object of Zenbound is to wrap a rope around various wooden objects, thus covering them with paint in every nook and cranny. This may sound weird on paper, but once you try it, you'll be actually addicted to it, according to the website. And then there's Moonlight Mahjong. Moonlight Mahjong. And that's pretty much what you think it is. It's Mahjong with some moonlight, some music, three-dimensional app. And there's another app called Hundreds. There's just a whole bunch of apps they have on here over on this makeuseof.com article. So if you got an iOS device and you are stressed, calm your hips down, man. Get one of these apps and relieve some stress. I don't know if they're going to work for you, but I think they're worth a try. I really like the sound ambient ones. They're nice to have running in a low volume in the background. But the other ones, I don't know. I don't know if I can solve a puzzle and relax. I'll probably get stressed. I'll be like, answer. What's the answer? I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. And then I'll be stressed for a minute. Check it out, guys. Make use of. They got the story? No, over there. Hey guys, Buona here. Just want to take time to thank our corporate sponsors, Amazon.com, Green Man Gaming, and YouTube. Without these guys, Buona.org Radio would not be possible. So thank you to our corporate sponsors. And that concludes our stories for today for Buona.org Radio, episode 266. I want to thank you all for listening. We got kind of a short show, but it's all right. You know, we crossed the 20-minute barrier, so that's our goal. We don't want to do it less than 20 minutes. You can follow me over Twitter at twitter.com/Buona. You can also follow this channel at youtube.com/ILBuffa or at radio.buona.org, where I actually embed that YouTube channel. You can follow my live stream at twitch.tv/Buona, where I live stream this particular show, as well as gameplay of games, because that's what you do with games, as well as my gaming podcast called Game Chat with Buona. You can check that out over there. We also are implementing a new donation system on my live stream, so I encourage you all to come by if you want to support the stream. Just by donating any amount via PayPal. We're setting up a new interesting system, which is commonly being used on Twitch. We're trying to reward people for I don't want to say reward. We want to acknowledge people that are willing to donate their hard-earned money to a random guy on the internet. That's what I always say. We also got our Keikis, our subscribers who donate $5 a month. You guys are awesome. All your support on YouTube, favorite the channels, and all that stuff is greatly appreciated. Follow me on Google Plus at google.com/plusbuona. We're also over there as well. All right, folks, that concludes episode 266 of Buona.org Radio, and I will see you all next time.